Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Hospital Porter's Pride and Dignity. Stop the New World Order. Welcome to Herpanwo TV. Tina, indeed we are. How are you, Tina? Hi, Cosmic Twilight. How do you do? And we have here Della Farrant. Hey, Della, how you doing? And we have Hugo Rune. Spliffs in the tin. Nothing as it seems. How you doing? Benny and the Jets. That sounds like if I ever had a band, that would be it, wouldn't it? Hello, Body Technician. How do you do? Hello, Keith McLaren. How do you do? We'll be looking into that. Yes, about exploring many different theories about this particular subject. Hi, Rhiannon. How you doing? Oh, you're laying down. You still got the nasty cold. I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, Rhiannon, you were pretty. I appreciate you tuning into Panmo Radio last night when we did the show about MH370. I appreciate you doing that, and I'm sorry you're still not feeling very well. Hello, Bumbleina, how you doing? Hello, Michael Snow. Who else is up there? We've got nothing as it seems, sir. My garbage business owners bought 2 houses on the other side of us. And my point is, have you not recognised the threat of the entire fleet of vehicles outside of human control? Tesla. Well, as you may be aware, there's several theories going around about what happened to MH370, and a lot of it. Oh, Hugo. Some of the theories are centered on the cargo, and I mean, the first report said there were like 1,800 kilograms of lithium-ion batteries in the hold. This then changed to about 250 later on for some reason. Apparently, it wasn't actually what's the word? It wasn't actually X-rayed. I mean, everything that goes onto a plane should be X-rayed. You know, you go on a plane with your bag. I was on a plane just a few months ago, as you know, if you're a regular viewer. You have to I had to go through an X-ray. My bags had to go through an X-ray. Everything does, but these lithium-ion batteries didn't. And these mangosteens, these exploding mangosteens, goodness me, I never eat any. If you eat one of those again, I'll tell you, it'll blow up. Hello, David Schultz. Thanks for joining us. And Tina has put this in Roman numerals. Yes, MH370. Yeah. Hello, Bernie Tucker. How do you do? Welcome. Oh, thank you very much. I will do my best, Bernie. There's someone mentioned something that's right. I definitely think our cosmic friends took that flight out. Well, we're going to be exploring the work of Ashton Forbes this evening. He has discovered something remarkable. I have mentioned him before. I mentioned him yesterday, and he wouldn't say aliens, but what he's discovered is something I think in that basic ballpark. We're going to be looking to some other possibilities as well. By the way, David, David Splendid Isolation is up there. There's Della Farrant. Hi, Della. How you doing? Hello, Della. And we have here David Splendid Isolation. How do you do? All right, this is the Seawall ferry disaster. Yeah, and this is an incident in Korea a few years ago where a passenger ship sank, and the crew it wasn't like the Titanic where they all bravely stand their ground and get everyone into lifeboats. They jumped into the lifeboats themselves and they scarpered, left the passengers to drown. The captain eventually, it looks like he killed himself, because I think if I'd done what he did, well, would I have done the same? I don't know, but yeah, so I don't know. I don't know. It's interesting, David. I've only just started looking into it, but is it relevant to the subject tonight? Hello, Cosmic Twilight. How do you do? Not that I don't mind going off topic a little bit. You know, that's okay to go off topic slightly. But anyway, yes, I want to thank David Splendid Isolation in particular. I know maybe I think Hugo Rune was there as well, and remind me if you were. But some of you turned up to my little matinee yesterday, which was my vigil, because of course this is officially the 10th anniversary today of the MH370 disappearance. But of course, in the time zone that it happened, it was only just after midnight, and that means everywhere to the west of that, including my own country, it was actually Thursday. It was the Thursday afternoon. In my country, it was the Thursday afternoon at just after 5 p.m. And so I did a vigil, and it started when the plane, at the time the plane would have left the airport, just to mark that occasion. Um, what's going to happen at the end of this? At the end of this live stream, there will not be a final answer. I will not be able to give you a final answer to what's happening, what actually happened to that plane. And I'm sure that's going to disappoint a lot of people. I know very well. Hello, sorry, did I mention you, Michael Snow? Hello, Michael Snow. Oi, oi. That may disappoint some people. I'm sure no one is more disappointed than the loved ones of the people who are on that plane, wherever they are now, alive or dead. They're desperate for answers, and I know a lot of them don't believe the official story. If you watch the Netflix documentary MH370, the flight that disappeared, you'll know that far from being united behind the official story, a lot of them are not. Ashton himself was recently contacted by one. Ashton is one of the most what's the word? He's one of the most radical of these people, of these kind of like researchers. But he was contacted by the wife of someone who was on that plane, and she's behind him. Cosmic Twilight. Oh well, if he's got time, I'll speak to Ashton. Yeah, I'd like to speak to him direct. But he seems to be. I think he's got like a 3-year waiting list, from what I can gather. Coda, hello, hi ho, and jolly well cold, pridely dignified. Good to see you, Coda. Michael Snow, R.I.P. the passengers of MH370. Michael, I've seen a lot of videos with people saying that, dedicated to the loving memory, R.I.P., things like that. Now, as much as I appreciate that sentiment, and I'm sure you mean well by it, what evidence do we have those people are dead? They are presumed, according to a coroner's inquest, they are presumed dead. They are presumed dead. They are presumed means there's no body. The means by which they died is not known. So you can declare someone legally dead. If, for example, if they found the plane crashed, if they found the wreckage of the plane somewhere, as some people claim to have already done so, and it's not in the Indian Ocean, it's in the South China Sea. If they actually found the wreckage, and even if they couldn't find a body, you could then declare someone dead, because it's almost inevitable that they are. But in this case, they haven't even found a wreckage of the plane. They found a few pieces of what looks like what looks like pieces of a 777, a Boeing 777 airliner. They've never been formally attributed to MH370. For example, what you see behind me, the flapper on that thing, that's been sitting in my garden pond for 18 months. I've been cultivating those barnacles like you wouldn't believe. That flapper on behind us, this is the Reunion flapper on. Every single module of an aircraft has a little brass plaque on it, which is secured with glue and rivets, so it can't come off. It's very difficult to come off. Which has the plane's serial number on it, so everyone knows what it is. In this case, it is. Oops, sorry, wrong. Oh, hang on, I went to the wrong page. Apologies, ladies and gentlemen. I've got 2 pages open of notes. In this case, it is 9M MRO, right? It would have the numbers 9M MRO, which is the actual number of the aircraft, so you can identify that aircraft positively. But conveniently, believe it or not, it's come off. It's actually come off. Michael Snow, I feel as though Ashton Forbes is a grifter. Have you been watching Stephen Cambion? Look, how much money has he made out of this? He works on an IT job at a hospital. Come on, how much money has he made out of this? A grifter. It's incredible. His videos, he has. I think his videos are monetized, which is fair enough. But I mean, honestly, if you want to be a grifter in this world, Michael, there are more lucrative ways of doing it. You could try selling dodgy double glazing, or like polishing off secondhand cars, or something like that. There's so many ways you can make money by illicit means than creating videos which most people in the world will laugh at you for. I know the backslappers are always having a go at Ashton, and I think they're being unfair. It's a long time to keep people out of the way without anyone finding. It is indeed. I like a good flapper, says Michael. If it sounds like the reunion flapper on sounds to me like some kind of dance, doesn't it? It's, it's like on Strictly. Today we're going to do the reunion flapper on. But seriously, I mean, there is. So I'm not going to say R.I.P. I mean, even though I respect your sentiment, Michael, but I respect your sentiment, but there's no evidence these people are dead. None. It is a possibility, probably quite a likely possibility, but it is not. It is not certain at all. And I mean, it's I know some of the relatives have accepted this. I mean, I know that the Australians, the two Australian couples who disappeared, the father has just been interviewed, and he said, they just played an old interview, and he said, I'm not. I've given up hope. We know that Danica Weeks has remarried, so even though her husband is listed as presumed dead, she's still technically a widow and can remarry. And who can blame her? I mean, it's understandable if she may really believe that. And let's be honest, it's quite likely. And I mean, I'm not going to judge her after what she's been through. I'm not gonna judge her after what she's been through. I mean, I'll say a bit more about the Malaysian government and how they handled this. They came up on stage and announced that they was almost certain the plane. They said we now have no doubt that they perished in all the 239 have perished in the Indian Ocean when the plane crashed. There's no plane. They can't find the plane, but they have the Inmarsat data, which is literally the only source that was the sole consultant for the Malaysian government. The Inmarsat company was the sole consultant for that whole episode, for this whole affair. And then they come up on stage and they announce this. And the people, of course, break down. You've seen the films of all those poor people crying their eyes out. And Danica was sent a fucking text message. They sent Danica Weeks a text message saying that Paul Weeks was dead. He was one of there was a couple of New Zealanders on there. He was one of them. How dare they? How dare they? So I'll try and keep up with your comments, guys. Cosmic Twilight. I spoke to Ashton on the Alien Addict channel. He's always willing to chat to anyone. It's worth a shot. Well, I'll get in touch with him. He's just started following me on Twitter, so I'll have a word with him. I mean, I'm quite happy to talk to him, definitely. I think, but though he's retiring from the MH370, this is his last day. He might be streaming, actually. I'll go and see later if he's streaming at the moment. Although, bear in mind, he lives in a different time zone. But yes, I'm quite happy to talk to him. Although, like I said, he may not want to talk about MH370 anymore unless more information comes about. So yeah, if he's following me on Twitter, then he may be watching now. In which case, Ashton, hope you enjoy the show. I've watched plenty of yours. Hello, see how we are living. How are you doing? Nice to see you. And we have Sweeps. Nice to see you, Sweeps. As always, YouTube, in their beneficence, did not condescend to send Sweeps a notification like they have a lot of people around here. And Tina, of course, selling dodgy PPE in this day and age, yeah. Who needs dodgy double glazing when you have the C word in industrial complex? Michael, he fell out with the Law Lodge just because they debunked the video beyond reasonable doubt. Well, if you watch his channel, according to him, they didn't, and he's disputed that. He uses the word rebunk, which is a good word, I think. He disputes that that's the case, and so I think if you watch, Michael, you may have watched my skeptic videos. For example, the Sufon one I did recently. You'll know that I have some problems with skeptic logic, and one of the skeptic logics is the convenient. There's the conveniently told confession story, and related to that is I forgot what I called it now. It's we've debunked it, therefore case closed kind of thing. You can't respond to that. Cosmic Twilight says Ashton is not a grifter. He's just a normal person like us who's done a lot of research into MH370. Absolutely, Cosmic Twilight. Absolutely. Tina Silver. I've never seen Lost. I mean, as you know, I have. As you know, I'm a big fan. You got me into a couple of series, like of course I've been meaning to do it for ages, but I watched all of Twin Peaks, and I've been watching Breaking Bad. Hello, Mark. How you doing? Hey, Sweeps. Not to worry. The troops are here to guard you. Thanks very much, mate. Thank you. Tina, perhaps the Malay government is where the word Malays originated. I don't know if there's a connection, because I know the word Malays has a French Norman origin. Malay, I think, maybe more local, but yeah. Bernie Tucker, if they had Rolls-Royce engines, they were in constant contact with the Rolls-Royce, who are monitoring the engines. They must know what's happening with the aircraft throughout the flight. Well, Bernie, actually, you see, this is more recent. I mean, if you listen to the Hapanwo show last night, where I covered this, it's my audio program. And I discussed back in 2014, they were already suggesting a new system of aircraft communication, which includes a remote system for sending basically black box data remotely, continuously, via satellite, via the ACARS and the SATCOM. Now, MH370 didn't have that. It wasn't. It's literally, it was experimental at the time. It may well actually have been rolled out through the entire aircraft fleet, including Malaysia, since then. But MH370 didn't have that. MH370 had its secondary radar transponder, the one that was switched off, and apparently it had once it was out of range of that, apparently we were told it had the ACARS SATCOM, which was where the Inmarsat was getting the handshakes from. Although I dispute that. I think that's very, very interesting. See how we're living. Nobody's debunked anything about those videos. No. Yeah, watch Ashton's Rebunk. I mean, I hope he'll leave everything on his channel, Michael. I really do. Hello, Welsh Ripper. How are you doing, boyo? Shumai, Prenanda. Yeah, I do hope, I do hope this will come out, because I mean, I don't know what it's like, but I mean, I've been accused of things I haven't done. I've been accused of horrible things that I haven't done in my life. I mean, I lost my job. I got kicked out of hospital port. I say lost my job. Hospital portering is not a job. It's a calling. It's a way of life. But I got kicked out of it. I got ripped out of that life because of something I hadn't done. And my main goal, because I'm saying I'm going to explore several theories this evening, but my main objective here is to exonerate a man who has been basically labeled the new Osama bin Laden on virtually almost no evidence at all. I'm almost no evidence at all. And I am, of course, talking about Captain Zaharie Ahmed Shah. I don't know if you watched that horrible program. That horrible. It's technically very good, but basically it's called the True Story of MH370: What Netflix Got Wrong, or something like that. It's like a feature length animated documentary narrated by this educated Irish sounding guy. And he says, and basically he tries to describe what happened. He says, Zaharie Ahmed Shah, the Captain Shah, he locked the door of when he sent Hamid out to make coffee, then he locked the door. And Hamid couldn't get in. Then he depressurized the plane, and he flew it right across the Malay Peninsula. And he turned the plane slightly so he could look down at his old hometown of Penang, right through Malaysian airspace, the airspace that is defended by the Malaysian Air Force and Airspace Command. And according to the official story, the Airspace Command did monitor this plane, this unknown aircraft with no transponder, no blips on secondary radar, no communication at all. He'd shut down all the auxiliary. Apparently, at that point, he'd shut down all the auxiliary systems. So there was no electronic. He was basically on a mission control. They picked it up because it's not a stealth aircraft. It reflects radar. They picked it up on primary radar and they watched it flying over through their airspace like that. They went, yeah. Oh, there's a plane going over there. Yes. What is it? I don't know. I don't know what it is. Do you think we should scramble some jets? You know, this is, you remember what happened on 9/11? We should perhaps scramble some jets. You know, it's not just the Malaysians. There was the Aussies as well. There was an Australian airbase nearby. Do you think we should scramble some jets and go and look at it? Nah, let's not bother. Let's get back to our card game. Right, yeah, okay. And apparently, he he confused them by flying along the border. Have you seen the border between Malaysia and Thailand? The Thai-Malay border. Let's have a look. The Thai-Malay border. Look at this. I'll just show you. He flew along this border. This is going to make you laugh. Here we go. I'm just getting the map out, mate. We'll be with you guys in a minute. Right, this is let me just search. This is the Thai-Malay border. He went along here. He went up. He went along there. Oh, he went right along this little crinkly bit through this salient here, up through these little the enclaves and things like that. He flew all the way along that border. My goodness me, he must have had an acrobat's aircraft, not an airliner. What total male cow excrement is that? That's how he confused them, you see. So the Malaysian Air Command just let it go, we'll let it go. And apparently, right, they didn't tell air traffic control. Air traffic control didn't tell them they'd lost a plane. The Ho Chi Minh Air Traffic Control, that's the zone which, Ho Chi Minh City, that's the headquarters of the air traffic control zone, which Zaharie Shah was supposed to be contacting. MH370 is supposed to contact them. It took them 17 minutes to raise the alarm. 17 minutes. In that time, the plane could have flown from the Zaharie waypoint to the coast of Vietnam and crashed. It could have like nosedived into a nuclear power station or something. And it took them 17 minutes to phone up to Lumpur Control and say, excuse me, what happened to that plane? You know, didn't you have a plane coming our way? Yeah. What happened to it? Dunno, mate. Well, do you think we should look into it? Yeah. Do you think we should alert the Malaysian Air Force? Maybe later. This is what you have to believe if you're going to believe the official story. Michael Snow, they have debunked the video. Right. Well, see, the thing is, like, Ashton disputes that. I mean, if you simply saying they debunked the video is not an answer. I mean, Ashton has done some videos where he disputes that. I know there's this big drama and this argument going on between the people who say one thing and people who say the other. I've watched the Law Lodge video. I mean, I don't know enough about this subject to say for certain. I'm not an expert in video technology. I know damn well that you can fake almost anything nowadays. I mean, proving the veracity of a piece of video, visual evidence is very difficult these days. I mean, we've got a terrible signal to noise ratio problem. Look at all the fake Nessie photos and the UFOs and the Bigfoot and something like that. I mean, it doesn't actually have as much. It doesn't carry, this sort of evidence doesn't carry the weight that it used to. But Ashton believes he has like metadata and things like that he says it's real because of metadata. It's not just the content. He says it's the content of the actual video, which he disputes that people said, well, it's just all template and stuff. It's template things and things like that. He disputes that. But he also explains there's metadata as well that verifies where that came from. He's even named the man he thinks leaked it, and we'll come on to that in a minute. Oh, thanks, Mark. Thank you very much. You won't like the Green Dot Aviation doc about it. I haven't seen that yet. Oh, no, I'm familiar. Green Doc, yeah, that rings a bell. I was going to talk about Miles Power, but we can come back to Miles Power. Maybe we've got time. Miles Power's done a little bit of a rant. Hang on. I think I've seen this. Hang on. Green Dot Aviation. I think I've seen this. No, this is what I was talking about, guys. This is the one I was talking about. Yeah, it's this one. What Netflix got wrong? Malaysian Flight 370. Yes, that is actually the one I was talking about. When I mentioned the documentary I told you a few minutes ago, that was actually the one I was talking about. Keith McClellan. Perhaps it was the gods. You were sacked, Ben, to put you on the path you are now. Well, I've wondered. It seems, would I have ever left willingly? Possibly not. Shot down by the military. 777's not a stealth aircraft, exactly. Now, this is what, if you know the Angry Frenchman, Gilles Waterloo, he's nicknamed the Angry Frenchman. He's got a right to be angry because he lost his wife and 2 of his 3 children on that plane. They're on that plane somewhere, if alive or dead. And he's angry, and he said that he was approached by someone. It was almost like a John le Carré kind of thriller, secret meeting in a basement car park. He gets in the car, and then someone said, "Ooh." There were aircraft following the MH370, and maybe it's got something to do with Freescale Semiconductor. Maybe it's something to do with them. Abraham Lincoln being oh no, I'm not going to watch that, Tina. I'm not watching that. See how we live in the video have attributes that would not have been known at the time, and they could not have been faked in 4 days. Yeah, this is what Ashton is claiming, and I don't disbelieve him. I've got no reason to disbelieve him. He has answered the points that the Law Lodge made. It could, of course, the law lodge have struck back, and this debate is going to go on. But I'm not. I'm not going to say. Well, I'm not going to say what Michael said here. You know, they've debunked the video. That's just too simplistic. I'm not going to say that. Perhaps the plane fell into Mel's hole, says Tina. It might come back. Oh, Tina. Yeah, but we had a bit of a nostalgic moment, didn't we? Yeah. Mm. Hi, Charlie. How you doing? Yes, Charlie, the green dot is a proper freak trying to get views and tarnishing Captain Zaharie's good name. Yeah. Yes, yes, Charlie, exactly. I mean, I watched it, and it's basically people watching it thinking, "Oh, that's what happened," and I think, no, it's a piece of fiction. It is a piece of fiction. That's what it is. It's speculation. I mean, you should see the comments under the video. It's pure speculation. Now, it's obvious that fingers were going to point at Captain Shah. That's inevitable. Let me just go to my notes. It's inevitable that fingers were going to point at Captain Shah because he was the main pilot, and also, of course, co-pilot Hamid. I mean, of course, he was going to get Farik Mohammed. He was going to get his fingers pointed at him. As far as we can see, they're opposite ends of their career. Hamid is only just qualified for the 777. He's been flying since he's been flying for about 6 years. Shah joined as a cadet pilot in 1981. He's 53 years old. He's planning on retiring soon. There's nothing in his life. I mean, he's not like Andreas Lubitz. People are comparing him with Andreas Lubitz. Now, this was a pilot who a few years ago did crash his plane. He was flying an airliner, and he crashed it. He crashed it into a mountainside in the Alps. And people say, well, he's like Shah was the same. Captain Shah had a clean bill of mental health. He was described as being jovial, friendly. He had lots of mates. His wife said he was loving. I know people say, well, families have secrets. Yeah, I know, but usually there are still signs. For example, Andreas Lubitz was being monitored by psychologists, and they were thinking of grounding him. Unfortunately, they didn't in time. I mean, the psychologist actually contacted his employer, Germanwings, the airliner, and said, this guy's suffering from serious mental problems. He has nightmares. He has suicide fantasies. He shouldn't be flying a plane. When the MH370 went missing, the police raided Shah's home, and they very infamously they got hold of his flight simulator. He practices on his own, like many pilots do. He has a flight simulator in his basement, and they took that and they found, guess what? He had a flight plan loaded. He had a scenario loaded. Among the 3,000 scenarios on his flight simulator, he had one loaded, which meant flying across the Malaysian peninsula from Waypoint Zaharie, up the Andaman Straits and into the Indian Ocean, to the point where the plane ran out of fuel, somewhere in the middle of the ocean. Now, that is literally, I'm telling you, that is literally the only piece of evidence they have against him. It's completely very long, such a long shot, you couldn't believe it, circumstantial. And for all I know, it was retconned. How do we know that they didn't? Well, maybe imagine this was planned in advance. How did we know that they didn't, or even after it happened, they actually hacked his computer and they saw he had this scenario and they thought, well, let's make this the official story. So basically, this scenario, which he could have made up just for the hell of it. I mean, I have a simple flight simulator game as well. I'm probably more simple than Shah's, but I have a flight simulator game on my computer, and I do all kinds of weird things with it. Maybe he was the same. Maybe he thought it would be fun to practice landing on water when you don't have any fuel in the middle of an ocean. Maybe he thought, well, just in case, what if my plane's hijacked and I need to do that? What if they hacked his computer and they said, well, right, he's got this scenario. Let's make that the official story. So, in a sense, they put the cart before the horse and they retcon the entire official story based on the flight plan rather than the other way around, using the flight plan, this scenario on his computer, to falsely link him to what they then falsely claim happened to MH370. I should check that. I think I should go to. By the way, but before I forget, I'm going to go to the notice comments. There's only one notice comments, and it's from Coda. Oh, jubbly joyfuls! I'm back at another trophage. for firstly common trail. Yes, this Unwanese expert, Unwaneseophone, has got the gold tinfoil hat there coming your way. Yes. So there's no, as I said, this whole thing on the green dot aviation, which thanks for reminding me what that was, is totally and utterly total utter speculation. It's a fiction. It's a fiction based on what they think might have happened, based on the official story released by the Malaysian government. And indeed, a lot of we're not the only. It's not just loonies like me talking about it. A lot of the relatives don't believe it. If you look at the Netflix documentary, there was Intan, the lady who was married to she herself was a flight attendant. She was married to another flight attendant. She said when she saw the reunion flapper on, the first thing she thought was, who planted that there? And there was actually a riot outside the Malaysian embassy in Beijing. And now it takes an awful lot to get the Chinese to riot, because the Chinese government treats riots very differently to how, say, the British government does. They don't just, the police don't just take the knee and let the rioters destroy everything. They go in there with batons and shields and they'll basically crack skulls. Even worse sometimes. Remember Tiananmen Square? And if you are prosecuted, you'll get a very lengthy prison sentence for rioting. Yet they rioted outside the Malaysian embassy. There's other things, like they say it's suspicious that at one point Shah, at that point, apparently at the time the plane was disappearing, Hamid had the controls and Shah was doing the radio. And he repeats something. So he says he repeats an instruction to air traffic control. He says level where is it? Here we go. Yeah, a level 350 Malaysian 370, and then air traffic control at 1:01 a.m. say Malaysian 370 maintaining. Sorry, that was yeah, he says flight level 350 Malaysian 370, then Malaysian 370 maintaining level 350. That's 35,000 feet basically. He's just informing air traffic control. He's got the permission and he said he's gone there, and air traffic say Malaysian 370. He then repeats it. He repeats it 5 minutes later. Malaysian 370 maintaining 350 Malaysian 370. Now that apparently supposedly evidence that something's wrong, but it could have been maybe he just wanted to re-verify. From what I've heard, other pilots have done this, and the same goes for the famous final communication with air traffic control at 1:19:24 seconds. ATC is basically saying goodbye. He's reached the edge of the Malaysian airspace or air traffic control zone. He's passing into the Vietnamese air traffic control zone. So the air traffic controller says, Malaysian 370, contact Ho Chi Minh 120.9, good night. Now, the proper, according to radio protocol, Shah was supposed to respond, contact Ho Chi Minh 120.9, Malaysian 370, good night. But instead, he just said, good night, Malaysian 370. Now, apparently that is not unusual. That is a breach of protocol, but it is not unusual for pilots to do that if they are familiar with the airspace and they know the air traffic controller, things like that. And then, of course, it takes Ho Chi Minh Air Traffic Control Center 17 minutes to raise the alarm, yeah. So that, again, is something that's is another thing I think it's a piece of false evidence against Captain Shah. Right, there's some more. I want to. Now, Captain Shah. I'll come on to this in a minute. I'm just going to go catch up with the comments and say hello to everyone. I don't want to because it's here. Only 36. What we got 45 now. Although I do suspect that I've explained why I think my stats have been messed with by YouTube. Mark says, Ben, what do you think of the chances of the pilot finding a buyer for the plane and killed all the passengers? Oh, what? I've heard this suggested that somehow there was some scam to sell the plane to someone cheap. Goodness me, I don't really think that's very feasible. Aliens are the easiest characters to blame, apart from pilots. It's going to go through these comments here. As it seems, nothing. Give it a break. Nothing is keeping a running commentary of my viewships. That's all right. They set him up. I truly believe the US government wanted someone on MH370 taken out, probably a Chinese spy or business person who was threatening American interests. Well, I doubt if it was just one person, because if it was just one person, they could just drop poison in his coffee or something. I think it's telling, or maybe a strange correlation, that 12 executive officers of Freescale Semiconductor were on the plane. This is an American military industrial complex with offices in China. He left the sim on autopilot and went to bed. Yeah, I mean, I've done this. I've gone off to get. I've had the plane flying somewhere on my simulator. Yeah, which is, actually, it is the same one as me. Flight Simulator 10. Yes, right. Yeah, it's the same one. He's got more monitors and things. He's got like a multi-monitor setup, but it's the same app. Oh, you may have seen my my flying to Area 51 video. Yeah, Charlie, you've probably seen it. Yeah, my flight to Area 51 video that I did. Now, yeah, I mean, I've done that. I've been in the middle of a game, right? I've been in the middle of a flight, and then someone calls me. My daughter phones me up, and I have to sort something out. I come back later and find the plane has run out of fuel and it's crashed in Antarctica or something. Yeah. Running out of fuel is often a training scenario in a simulator. I didn't expect so. I mean, again, this is very, very flimsy evidence. I'm surprised the MSN didn't say his flight sim was in his mum's basement. Yeah, I mean, the guy lives in his own home. In fact, I'm surprised they didn't make that up and say that he was just in his mum's house. He lived with his mother in he lived under the stairs and had a man cave in his mum's basement. I'm surprised they didn't make that up. I mean, I think the only reason they didn't make that up was because he had a YouTube channel in which he did DIY videos. His favorite YouTube subject was doing DIY. He used to do DIY videos around his home. He had a house. He had a nice house. He's on a good salary, so he could afford a nice sort of middle class lifestyle with his wife and kids. Nothing as it seems. My suppository is the lithium battery payload. Disintegrated the effort. You don't want to put those up your bottom, nothing as it seems. You really don't. Nothing as it seems says iconic payloadery. That sounds like something Coda would say. Yeah. Again, this is very, very flimsy evidence. We have here other crowd investigators. The number 17 is symbolic of conspiracy. Someone asked me last night on Hapanmo Radio, is there any numerology in this? I don't know. Oxygen is included within lithium-ion batteries. Now, the lithium-ion battery thing. Now, as I said, the original manifest said that there was 1,800 kilos of lithium-ion batteries put on board. That was later changed to 250 for some reason. I don't know why. But now, if those caught fire, the plane would be in serious trouble. In fact, as Ashton has said, it could be using some kind of secret technology might be the only way to save it. There was actually, in fact, this has been, you probably are familiar with this if you looked into this subject. But in 2010, there was an air crash just outside Dubai. A cargo aircraft carrying lithium-ion batteries caught fire just after takeoff, and it came down. Now there were three crew members on board. Luckily, there weren't any passengers. All three of them were killed. Now, if you look at the pictures of the wreck, it's been virtually vaporized. I mean, the lithium-ion batteries, once they set fire, once they catch fire, they're terrible. I mean, there's literally nothing. There's hardly anything of the airframe of this aircraft left. It's just a pile of ash. And you may have seen the videos of those scooters, those horrible scooters that are sort of sitting around everywhere in towns. When they catch fire, they blaze like fireworks. Yeah. Oh, Jewish space lasers have taken it down. As Marjorie Taylor Greene said to that horrible bitch Emily Maitlis, "Fuck off." Good old MTG. Now the whole I'll go back to my notes. I want to say a few more words about Captain Shah. Captain Shah was politically active. He was a member of an opposition political party. In fact, he knew the leader, who was a kind of like George Galloway like firebrand. And in Malaysian politics, this meant he was something of a, he wasn't like a fringe, but he was a radical. He was a radical. And everyone said, well, he did this as protest. He did it to protest. Right now, in that case, there's several questions. Why didn't he leave behind a note, why didn't he leave behind a manifesto? People who do these sorts of things, these grand gestures, they tend to leave behind like a very detailed explanation, which is published just afterwards, explaining why they did what they did. A good example is Aaron Bushnell. Now, this is a horrible case recently, where a young man, 25-year-old man, burned himself to death outside the Israeli embassy, yelling "Free Palestine" as he died. And he did this as an act of protest against what against the situation in Israel and Gaza, for which he is very much on the side of the Palestinians, and he wanted to make a protest. And but before he did so, he made a video explaining. He says, "I'm doing this because I'm doing this because." There's nothing. Captain Shah has left nothing explaining, I want to make this plane disappear in the Indian Ocean because I'm against the government. I hate the Prime Minister. I want to do A, B, and C. Nowhere has he said this. So what's his motive? There doesn't seem to be any personal motive. His political motive, if he has one, he hasn't even said anything. He hasn't even told anyone why he's doing it. That seems a bit of a I mean, normally they would like own up. They would like explain things. For example, I mean, sometimes when a terrorist action happens, occasionally you'll even get like situations with, more than one group will claim responsibility. Shah's claimed responsibility for nothing. For nothing. Sweep said underwater hydrophones at Diego Garcia were shut down for 25 minutes around the time MH370 was dumped. The shutdown of all three hydrophones is without explanation. MH370 was dumped in the ocean. Well, yeah, Ashton has talked about this. It's the SOSUS network that this is designed to search to detect shipping, so you can monitor ships and submarines. Now, we know that the Atlantic SOSUS system picked up the implosion of the Titan submarine. The one, do you remember the one that was built without the horrible input of 50-year-old evil white men. That one that was built without evil white men and then blew up and then imploded and killed everyone on board. That the implosion was picked up by SOSUS. And these satellites, yes, satellites. Don't Ashton? One of the videos that Ashton, we'll have a look at Ashton's stuff in a minute. One of the things that he's come out with is a satellite image. Now, satellites is satellites are indeed very, very powerful. Modern spy satellites. I mean, their true capabilities are classified, but I think it's pretty much understood that they have the ability, to example, to read a newspaper headline from low Earth orbit. And they have the ability to see outside the visible spectrum. They can pick up infrared, things like that. And indeed, it appears that these videos are in infrared. Yeah, I remember that Marcia Wheel. That wasn't an airport, wasn't it? The multi-story car park burnt up. 17 minutes before the first plane striking the WTC in the second. There was supposed 17. Oh, right, this is the 17 thing. I don't count that when the Illuminati do things, they do put in numerology. Yeah. Hello, Dave Yorkshire. Yeah, Galloway is guilty. George Galloway's a tosser. I mean, I wouldn't. George Galloway. We're going off topic here, but did you see what he said about the C words, about the need for the lockdowns and being very hard? He said we need more mandates and things like that. We need more mask mandates and V word mandates and things like that. The guy's a fraud. It doesn't mean that at the end of the day, I mean, I would never vote for him myself, but the people of Rochdale voted for him. It was a 39% swing against Labour, which is a record, I believe. It's an electoral record. And then the unelected Prime Minister, Roland Rishi Sunak Rat, comes out on the podium and says he just slags off the people of Rochdale for voting the wrong reason. It's like Brexit all over again. Oh dear, I'm going off topic. Yeah, he's David. He's horrible, isn't he? He's a horrible two-faced crook. It was made to disappear so one party could gain control of the multiply open owned patent. Yeah, this is it's something to do with stealth technology, isn't it? Nihilist lives matter. Maybe his dog ate his final testament. Yeah, yeah. Um, the runaway is really bad. I think it's a problem. We're gonna see more often. Yeah, it's now I don't know about this thing about mangosteens. I've never even heard of mangosteens. Apparently they're a fruit that Malaysia exports. So they weren't in season at the time for some reason. Maybe they have greenhouses. I don't know. But apparently these exploded in the hold, and it sounds like something from bloody Monty Python, exploding fruit. Or was it the black puddings? Eki Thump, the black puddings. It sounds like no, that was the goodies. Sorry, that was the goodies, wasn't it? Goodies, goody, yum yum. I'm getting my surreal classic comedies mixed up. Yeah, yeah, it's nothing it seems. Yes, he's been travelling around it in the United States around, hasn't he? Yeah, I can't. Bushnell had MK Ultra. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say. Dave controlled the Mysterons, took control of the plane. Well, I mean, many true word is spoken in jest, David. I mean, I'm going to explore some of the more outlandish theories. Oh, it was International Women's Day, says Diego Rivera. Diego Rivera, every day is International Women's Day, isn't it? International Men's Day, I think, is it the 10th of November? Either way, I'll look forward to the Google logo. Where are we now? Michael Snow, no debris was found. Makes zero sense. Well, yeah, I mean, no debris was found at the scene. There were 40 ships and 22 aircraft. It was the biggest air sea rescue recovery operation in history. Right in the middle of the ocean. Right in the middle of the ocean. They found zero trace of the plane. Yet Blaine Gibson has found dozens of bits of it. All he does is comb the beaches of southeastern Africa. And of course, there's the reunion flapper on this thing behind me. That just turned up. This massive, like 8-foot long piece of aluminium, which has been floating. It's obviously been in the sea. I mean, it has shellfish on it, but you could put things in just because something's been in the sea doesn't mean it came from that plane. Especially when the identity plaque is conveniently missing. Nihilist lives matter. I'll tell you what, if a war breaks out, we don't need hand grenades, do we? Let's just get the mangosteens out. David Yorkshire. The reason the sun never set on the British Empire was that God would never trust the English in the dark. George Galloway. I think he was quoting a guy whose statue is in Parliament, yeah. But I suppose he's kind of I suppose he's kind of an entertaining character in a way, but I don't support him. I think he claims to be a man of the people, but he's very, like, in the whole Israel-Palestine thing, he's very partisan in that. Very partisan indeed. If you remember, I did a live stream about that particular subject where I take a different view, but you can check that out. Oh, it's the 19th of November, Rhiannon, and we're going to party. Yeah. Just wait for the Google logo. Yeah. Hello, Spanish Chicken. Welcome. Too many patent owners on the planes. Yes. Right. So Amelia Earhart. This is interesting because I don't know if it's some kind of like synchronicity, but as we're approaching the 10th anniversary, and this is all back in the news again, it's been revealed that Ocean Infinity, the very same company that is searching, is now asking to reopen the MH370 case and do another search for the plane, which I suspect won't work. Amelia Earhart's plane has been found, or possibly. Again, it's on the bottom of the sea. You can't actually certify things until the bottom of the sea. Now, those tiny percentage of you who read Panmo Voice will know that I did an article about it. Here we are. This is it. Yes. Now this is like something that happened long ago, but this was very like MH370, but it happened in 1937 in the days when she was an aviator. Now, the word aviator you don't really hear anymore. It's not really known because you can't say. There was a time when flying in a plane, especially long distances, was considered as groundbreaking as flying into space. I mean, aviators were like the astronauts of today. But you can't say that when people can just sit in seat 39K and read a book and go away for a weekend and do the same thing. So in a sense, we're all aviators now. So it's a word that's not really used. But in the days where air travel was pioneered, it was. Now she had a plan to fly around the entire world with her co-pilot and navigator Frederick Noonan. Now no one's ever heard of him because he's an evil white male. So he's been forgotten by history, whereas Amelia is a woman, a heroic woman. And she'd almost made it actually, because she was just on the last leg across the Pacific Ocean, and then on July 29th, she was flying towards an island where she was going to stop and refuel. And it's pretty obvious what happened. I mean, unlike MH370, though she stayed in radio communication with the ground, and it's pretty obvious she was running out of fuel and got lost. And there was a search of the area, but nothing was ever found of a plane. It's possible she ditched in the sea and the plane sank before she and Noonan could get out. And now Ocean Infinity they've been scanning the seabed where they think it's most likely her plane was, and they found an object that looks like an airplane 16,000 feet down. Now, at that depth, it's going to be very difficult to get to it, but they have the technology to do it. You can go down there where there's a deep sea submarine drone that could go down that deep. So they're now planning a second trip to see if they can find the wreckage of Amelia Earhart's plane, which would solve the mystery. It would solve the mystery. Dave Yorkshire, yes. Don't get those two mixed up. Christopher Hitchens and Peter Hitchens. They're like they're like me and my brother. We're brothers, but we're totally different. Hello, Jackdaw. Welcome. Do you think there's a connection to the other Malaysian 777 shot down 4 months later? No. Well, it's an odd coincidence and terribly bad luck. It's terribly bad luck, isn't it? I mean, air travel these days is pretty safe, but to lose two aircraft in the space of a few months for the same airline is awfully bad luck. I know that on Rich Planet TV, there was a program where Richard D. Hall was saying that there's a connection to some peace conference going on in Malaysia, in which I know Alfred Weber was involved in it. Aviatrix. That's right. To be correct, Tina. Yeah, it's Aviatrix or no, you can't say Aviatess, can you? Oh yeah. So it'll be strange if they did find Amelia Earhart's plane after all this time. I don't know if she has any living relatives. I don't think she had any children. She was a lesbian. Rumor had it she had affairs with like Eleanor Roosevelt and all these other famous women. But obviously she didn't speak openly about it. You couldn't in those days. But she may have other relatives who may be wondering what happened to her. Yeah. Nothing. Who's Sheila Earhart? Is that someone related to her? I mean, there's an urban myth that one of the passengers on MH370 was like the grand nephew or niece of Amelia Earhart. That would be a rather strange. That would be a rather strange turn up for the books, wouldn't it? Very strange indeed. But it is just an urban myth. What would happen? I mean, have you ever watched Manifest? It's a TV series. It's on Netflix, but like everything on Netflix, it sort of like proliferates. But it's a TV series about a plane that goes missing and then it comes back. Now, if MH370 came back, it just turns up outside the airport after going for a time warp or something. It's a good series. It's a very good series. I think it maybe it was MH370 that gave them the idea to make it. But I mean, supposing the people on the plane are still alive, and for all we know, they might well be. If the plane didn't crash, or it was moved somewhere, like Ashton is saying, well, in that case, move to where? To Diego Garcia? This is this base. It's Diego Garcia is just. I made a mistake yesterday in the matinee. Diego Garcia is within the range of the MH370, but only just. Only just. It's only just within the fuel range of MH370. What's this? Tina says, I heard years back that her plane was found shot down by the Chinese as she was a spy on. You heard it on Red Ice Radio. I'm not. I didn't. I've been listening to Red Ice since the beginning, but I don't remember that show, Tina. But maybe they'd come up with some evidence. I don't know. So basically, I think there's no evidence. I resented that. As sophisticated as the documentary was by Green Dot Aviation, I resent it. Because it's portrayed as some kind of revelation when it is just fiction. It's fiction inspired by what I think is a false story, for reasons I've explained. And the government have been very cagey. They know more than what they're saying. The governments, China, Malaysia, they both know more than what they're saying. Probably Australians do as well. But the whole Green Dot Aviation documentary is based on this assumption, and it basically portrayed Captain Shah as the new Bin Laden with no evidence at all. Minimal. I mean, literally minimal evidence. If you went to court and said this, if you had someone in court right now and said, well, he was playing this game on his flight simulator, what would the judge say? Case dismissed. There's some other strange things I want to go through now. Now, there were 2 passengers on fake passports. The official story is that they were Iranians who, on fake passports, they wanted to apply for political asylum in Germany. Well, look on the map. Look on the map where Beijing is. It's in the wrong direction. They were moving away from Germany. So yeah, that sounds a bit odd. Yeah, and getting hold of a fake passport, or a believable and realistic and a workable fake passport these days is actually quite difficult. With the things like with the chips and things in them, costs a lot of money. You got to have a lot of money to afford one, and you've got to go to a proper forger, and you've got to pay them a lot. You probably have to pay thousands for it. A proper forger, thousands. And why get on a plane and go to Beijing? Why not go to Beijing, get on your way to Germany? What were they? Were they on the plane saying, oh dear Maya, we've gone the wrong way? What? Let's just look on the map. Oh shit, we're going to China. We were supposed to be going to Germany. Why don't they just why don't they just go to Paris, get the train to Calais, and get in a rubber dinghy and cross the English Channel and come to Britain? They'll be on the top floor of the Radisson Blu in no time, being served the best food and best drink for no money at all. Now there's a couple of people. There's 3 main individuals I want to talk about. There's 3 main principal alternative researchers into this business. One is a guy called Jeff Wise. Another is Ashton Forbes, who I've already explained. And the third is Florence de Changy, a French researcher. She, I think she and Ashton are probably the best researchers. Jeff Wise has got this crazy idea, and it is a crazy idea. It's explored in the MH370 thing. The two so-called Iranians, they were actually Russian. They were Russian spies. They weren't Iranians. They were Russian spies on fake passports, and they broke into the computer center on the plane, which apparently you can get into very easily. It's not. It's underneath the cabin, and there's like a little trap door you can go down. It's not locked, and no one will stop you, even though it's in plain view of everyone in the first class compartment. But they got in there, and then they took over the plane. Now, several people have commented on this, and I know that Jeff fell out with Florence over this, but you can't actually. There is, despite the best efforts of Project for the New American Century, Dov Zakheim. Remember Dov Zakheim, the guy who said the plane should have an override so they can be flown like a drone from the ground. It can't happen. Now, it's true that the 777 is very modern. It is a fly-by-wire plane, but it still is controlled from the cockpit. The cockpit can override. You can't just get into the computer center and then take over. Oh my god, and the pilot's going, oh my god, I'm turning the wheel and nothing's happening. The plane's moving. Oh my god, we've been turned into passengers. No, that can't happen. But Jeff's idea was that the plane didn't. He believes the Inmarsat data. Unlike Florence, he believes the Inmarsat data, which is highly questionable in my view. But as you know, the Inmarsat can't actually. The Inmarsat was not designed actually to locate the plane. It was designed to just simply communicate with the plane. Yet, through some ingenious means, if it's true, which I doubt, but through some ingenious means, the Inmarsat people managed to work out how you could calculate the range of the aircraft from the satellite. But they can't say where it is. They just know where it is within a certain range. And they've got these arcs that go north into Southeast Asia, into Central Asia, and there's this arc that goes south into the Indian Ocean. And most people assume the plane went south. It couldn't have gone north. But Jeff said, no, it did go north. The plane flew north to Kazakhstan. It landed there. Kazakhstan is a Russian ally. And the Russians wanted to distract people because they were invading Crimea. I would use the word liberate, not invade. But remember my debate with Bowler Hat Man? Yeah. But they were invading Crimea and the Russians needed a distraction. That's like this nonsense that the people say UFOs are a distraction. UFOs were invented by the CIA to distract people from spy planes. Great. That's a very fashionable idea these days, and loads of ufologists believe this now. But it doesn't make sense when you consider how badly and how easily it could backfire. I mean, this idea that UFOs are some kind of engineered neo mythology to launder down to earth intelligence operations, secret spy balloons, stuff like that. So this is like saying, well, okay, we have this secret here, so we're going to draw people's attention towards it when they weren't originally looking, so we can deflect it away again, and then our secret will be kept even more. Really? So if you're going to rob a bank, what do you do? Do you bury your stolen stash of money in the woods and don't tell anyone where it is? Or do you dress up in a pink tutu and put on a cloth cap and a striped jersey, and then every time a police car drives past, you jump on top of your stolen money saying, excuse me, policeman, Mr. Policeman, over here. Come on, look at me, yes, look at me. The guy who's dressed like a bank robber. Yeah, right. There's no stolen money under here, okay? Just unicorn bones. Which is the best tactic in your view? Now, if you believe these UFOs are all like a psyop thing, you have to believe that the second tactic is better than the first, and the second stash of money will not be found, and the first one will. Yeah, because according to this theory, Bob Lazar has what Bob Lazar has done. According to them, Bob Lazar has made Area 51 even more secret than before, because no one was looking at Area 51. No, everyone was looking at Area 51, and then Bob Lazar came along and he deflects people's attention away from it. The exact opposite happened. And before anyone says to me, yes, Ben, Bob Lazar made people go there to look for aliens, not spy planes. Oh, see how clever I am. No. Thanks to Bob Lazar, people with all kinds of beliefs are going to Area 51, including, people like Yurgana, who doesn't believe in aliens. He's there because of Bob Lazar. He's looking for spy aircraft. So this idea that the Russians somehow staged the disappearance to distract people. If you want to distract your average sheeple from something going on, I mean, you don't need to make up fairy stories about missing planes and UFOs. Just a celebrity scandal will do. A soap opera bombshell. I don't want to sound demeaning, but your average man or woman on the street is not hard to distract. They're not easy to make them look where you want them to look. Sweep said here, no hangar on Diego Garcia big enough for a Boeing 777. Yes, MH370 would have taken off again after passengers and cargo unloaded, then flown as a drone to Mauritius and dumped. That's a possibility, Sweeps. Yeah, I mean, it could be that the passengers and things were offloaded. I mean, in which case, where are they now? What was done with them? I think there's thousands of people who knew and loved them who want to know the answer to that. I'm sure they themselves want to get back home to those people. Definitely. Right. Question. Right. There's lots of questions here. Could it simply? No. This is a possibility. I don't think it's likely, but it's a possibility we should consider. Thanks to the Tom Nodders, and if you watch the MH370 documentary, the plane was. She believes she's found the wreckage, and like Florence, she doesn't believe that MH370 ever left the Gulf of Thailand. And I think there's a lot of reason. There's a lot of reason to believe that too, unless Ashton is right, which is another possibility. Well, there's another possibility, and that is that the whole thing was an accident, and it's got nothing. Not because of free-scale semiconductors. There was no like sabotage. It was simply an accident. I think that's not likely, but it's possible that there was indeed a fire on the plane caused by the batteries in the cargo. The plane crashed, and now the Malaysian government is thinking, "Oh my God, we have a major diplomatic incident here. We have a major because there are 14 citizens of 14 nationalities on our plane. We're going to have to pay out a massive amount of compensation. You know, we could end up like losing our special relationship with A, B, and C country. Should we just pretend something else happened? Let's just make up some kind of silly story about how the pilot was some kind of evil secret ragamuffin. He took over the plane and flew it into the Indian Ocean, and then we're in the clear. And let's forget about that wreckage that's lying around. Now the wreckage is not actually near Waypoint Agari. It's about 100 miles away. It's actually just off the coast of Vietnam, where the Mekong Delta meets the sea, not far from Ho Chi Minh City. In fact, it's likely that if there were some kind of incident in which the plane crashed, it's possible people in that city, a huge city, I think there's 8 million people in Ho Chi Minh, people in that city would have maybe seen something in the sky. Florence has actually found 19 witnesses who saw an explosion in the sky, not over the Indian Ocean, but over the Gulf of Thailand. She's found some people on an oil rig. She found some people on a fishing boat, and a couple of others. So it looks like there was some incident at Waypoint just when the plane lost communication. There's something happened. Something happened to that plane. I mean, because now, supposing again, let's just bury this Captain Shah as a ragamuffin once and for all, shall we? If you were Captain Shah and you wanted to make a plane disappear, why not wait until wait until you're on like an overland route, a route that's mostly overland to Beijing, where you have to fly over the Malay Peninsula, and you've got no idea that you don't know at the time that the Malaysian the airspace command is completely and utterly incompetent and lazy, and they just sort of sit back saying, "Oh, plane's flying over, just let it go." No, you can scramble some jets. No, and you don't know that. So why not wait until you're on a trans-Pacific route? Make your plane disappear in the same place that Amelia Earhart did, in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. It'll probably be another like 90 years until that's found. Yeah. Other crowd investigators. How does a fellow countryman's suicidal pilot get past psychological screening and put them in the clear? They can't. I mean, even Andris Lubitz was almost grounded before he did his own thing. He was almost grounded. Yeah. 200 kilos of lithium batteries. Nothing as it seems. Yeah, strangely enough, the original manifest said 1,800 kilos. For some reason, that changed. I don't know why. So why did Shah not just wait till he was like flying to San Francisco or something and then just make the plane disappear right in the middle of the Pacific? It'd be much easier, much less chance of it going away. Isn't it? It's odd, don't you think, that the Malaysian... I mean, this is why I think that the the relatives of the pilots, so many relatives of the passengers, are so incensed with the Malaysian government because they just announced they're on the phone to Inmarsat and they based the entire scenario on those phone calls alone. And then you know what they do? And guess what? And this is even more incredulous, actually. After the airspace command, Malaysian airspace command, and the Australians as well, who have an airbase there, did not react to the presence of a completely black airliner flying over the. By black, I mean no lights, no secondary radar transponder, no satcom, nothing, because Shah apparently powered down the auxiliary machinery. A completely emission-controlled airliner flying over their territory, their inland territory, with cities and towns all over the place, nuclear power stations you could like nosedive into, things like that. Not only did they not react, they didn't tell air traffic control, and then guess what? About 2 days later, the Malaysians said, "Oh, we've been in touch with the head of the Air Force," and he said, "Oh yes, MH370 did fly over our airspace. We didn't want to bother you with it at the time, but seeing as you asked and all this is in the news, we thought we'd comment." I mean, what sort of fools do they think we are? What sort of idiots do they think we are? Hello, Wayne Model Builder. Oh, cool. You're not to worry, mate. You know, as always, I leave the recordings up there again. You know, I leave the recordings. 69 Phuket. Your room is a plane wreck. Yes, I am. I am the kind of person that's the media wanted to portray. Hang on. This is from my daughter. Hang on a second. I've got a text from my daughter. I am the kind of person that they wanted to portray Shah as. I don't live in my mother's basement. I actually live in a flat with two guys. Okay, just something. I just got to text my daughter. Yeah, I live in a flat with two other guys, but I am pretty much. I am the sort of basement dweller. I'm the typical basement dweller, single bloke. You know, I'm a single man. I don't have a girlfriend. As a result, I'm not going to be very tidy. Hello, Neil. How are you? Hope you're having a glass of wine this evening, Neil. Well, I never drink when I'm live streaming. I'm not. Ashton Forbes always has like a cocktail with him. I don't drink when I'm live streaming. Well, not very often anyway. But I actually didn't. I was meant to buy some wine today, and I didn't. Hi, Charlie. Yeah, she's fine, mate. My daughter's fine. She just asked me to do something, which I will do. Yeah. Oh, David and Nice Mice are having a debate. That's cool. You guys have debates by all means. But nice to see you, Neil. How you doing? Nice to see you. So again, this is again. I hope a time will come when Captain Shah, if he's alive, he managed to get home to his family, and if he's not, I hope his memory will be cleared. His name will be cleared posthumously, because I really hate the way he's been portrayed. I think he had the responsibility of looking after 239 people on his plane. He'd been doing it his whole life. He was training a young apprentice, that is Farrah Hamid, in the art of aviation, and he's been told. And suddenly this happens, and now suddenly he's like evil incarnate. You know. What is his wife? I bet his wife and kids, I bet they get attacked on the street and things like that. I bet the people read it in the papers, and then when his wife goes off to the supermarket or something, and the kids go to school, how do you think they're treated by the other people? You know how some people just believe everything that's in the paper. You know, it's like Bill Hicks, we're the puppet people. Put it on the TV, it's true. You know, if you become like a tabloid monster, even if there's nothing wrong with you, people will come up and they won't ask to hear your side of the story. They'll just say, "That's the bloke that I read about in the Daily Star. He's horrible. Let's beat him up." They will literally just say that. When you're dealing with NPCs, you can, when there's this sort of like there's this lynch mob of like paramilitary NPCs. You don't need You don't need the police. You don't need the courts. You just get your fellow citizens to do the job for you. You know, these mindless sort of like sacks of like. Oh, I don't want to get misanthropic now. I don't want to sound like that, like Julia Roberts in that Leave the World Behind film. Yeah. Hey, Spanish Chicken, how you doing? I watch your stuff often. I rarely comment. Jason from Raconta's News got me here, fella. Cheers. Oh, thanks, Spanish Chicken. I'm glad you enjoyed Jason. I was on his show too. Rest in peace, Jason. I missed that guy. MH370 has just encouraged more conspiracy theories. Well, 69 Phuket, there's one that's actually false, which is that MH17 is MH370, and there's some rather dubious evidence brought to bear based on the wreckage that was found in Ukraine, which Jeff Wise says was Jeff Wise repeats the official line, but there's actually no evidence that Russia was behind it. It was shot down using a Russian weapon by persons unknown. But it's not the same plane. I mean, it's a different plane. It has a different registration number. It's not the same plane. They point to like where one window's been covered in the plane, and the window was covered in both planes. And it's rather flimsy. It's a rather flimsy case. Michael, yes, Jason was a legend. Right, let's just see what's next on the list. Let's have a look. Right, let's go and see. Let's see if I'm just going to see if Ashton is streaming right now. I was watching one of Ashton's streams earlier. This one here. This is his retirement stream. Right, it's this one here. Ashton, I'm gonna. Well, first of all, I know Ashton won't care, but I'm just going to put this up for a moment. The material from other content creators and other screenshots and stills are reproduced in accordance with the fair use guidelines of the Copyright Designs and Patents Act of 1988 and Section 17 of the USC 107. That's a commercial code. 1, for the purposes of private study and research. 2, for the purposes of criticism and review. 3, free distribution, not for profit. Yeah, my channel is unmonetized. Now, here we go. You know what? I need to get one of those banners. You know, Terry Joyce has. I should ask Terry how you do it, because she has this banner underneath her when she's streaming. She has this banner saying, "This is a transformative work." Yeah, this was Ashton's earlier thing here.
Electromagnetics.
It's just easy streaming live. Let's just have a look. He did say he'd do a because today is the official anniversary. Even though, like I said, it's the actual anniversary. If you're in my time zone, was yesterday. No, he's not. This is still his latest video. But I'll just he summarizes his thing back here. He goes, here we go.
7th. I think that there was a post from them going back to late July, but they started to pick up.
Hang on.
It also says in the description source.
Let's go back to the beginning, because this is a summary of the evidence.
Okay, I think we're just going to get started here, guys. So for anybody who doesn't know, my name is Ashton Forbes. I have been investigating MH370 for the past 6 months. This investigation, tomorrow is the 10-year anniversary of the plane going missing. And this investigation began on social media. It began on...
I should show you the videos, actually, because I've got the video. These are the videos that Ashton's talking about. Now, I did show these videos, actually, because I did another video. I did another live stream a few months ago about MH370.
Yes. And it was
called Rethinking MH370, and I basically made it because I discovered Ashton.
Look, spherical. These objects...
Don't need the... Here we go. Right, here we go. Okay, we're rolling. These are the videos. Look, see, there's the 777 airliner, and watch what happens. I mean, you're probably familiar with these, especially if you watch regularly, because I did show you these videos. Look, what those little these little objects come and approach the plane, now circling around it. What's going to happen? What were they doing? It's like UFOs. They're just circling around it. Oh my God. Do you see that? It's just like this flash of light, and they just go. There's this flash of light, and it's suddenly like gone. Just gone. What was that? Zap? He calls it a zap, Ashton. I mean, I don't know if that's the right technical term. Ashton has come up with a thesis about why he thinks what's going on with what the UFOs are actually doing, which he believes this is actually deep state technology rather than extraterrestrial. I'm not sure I go along with that. I think it's equally likely non-human intelligence, but either way, it makes the plane disappear. Oh, Spanish, you're off, Spanish chicken. Oh, sorry. Sorry. I thought you said you were leaving. A lot of peeps now watch Healthy. Yeah, Jason's old followers. Oh, cheers. Yeah, cheers. Yeah, good old Jason. Let's just watch a bit more of Ashton here.
The subreddit UFOs, where 2 videos reemerged after 10 years.
The videos I just
have
showed
been
you
confirmed to have been from 10 years ago. We found many other posts that reference them going back 10 years. The very first thing on our evidence list actually has the links to the web archive of those videos. The first video is called Satellite Video, Airliner, and UFOs. Yeah. And it says in the description, received March 12th, 2014, which is just 4 days after the plane went missing.
That's not long after the plane went missing, is it?
It was uploaded May 19th, 2014. It also says in the description, source protected. Now, this was uploaded on an account called Regicide Anon, which is basically means king killer, anonymous.
Yeah, regicide, to kill a king is regicide, or to kill a monarch.
Is what that stands for. The second video we dated back is called, I don't remember the exact name of it, but it's a drone video. And it's either an MQ-1C Gray Eagle, because we can see the drone, or it's an MQ-9 Reaper. But we think it's MQ-1C Gray Eagle because they've been in operation longer. And that it's got an aerial surveillance package underneath the wings.
I'm going to go back and check the comments. I should actually have downloaded this and played it in a separate window like I usually do. But actually, I have it downloaded. Hang on. Yeah, it's easier to do it this way. Then I can look at the comments at the same time. And where is it? Here we go. It's just easier to do it this way rather than on YouTube because then I have to keep coming off full. I have to keep going back to studio mode and checking the live stream. Where is it? This is it. Here we go. I forgot. I have downloaded it. Here we go. Here we go. Right. So where I got to with Ashton? 3 minutes 27 seconds. Right.
The second video, all the news people, various aspects of it. Q1C Gray Eagle because they've been in operation longer. And that it's got an aerial surveillance package underneath the wings. This second video says received June 5th, 2014 in the description.
All right. Dave Yorkshire says, I don't subscribe to all this alien stuff. If aliens have the technology to get here, they could do anything they wanted. Well, maybe they are, David. Maybe they are. These videos are great. I thought they were too good to be true at first, but became more convinced as more details and evidence came out over time. Yeah, the as well, Ashton will describe them. I don't need that anymore. I'm going to get rid of that. Ashton, you've just seen them. Ashton actually shows them many times on his channel.
And then it was published June 12th, 2014. So these videos reemerged on the subreddit UFOs around August 7th. I think that there was a post from them going back to late July, but they started to pick up.
Don't worry, this is 2.5 hours long. We're not going to watch the whole thing. Just want to watch the first few minutes of it.
Steam in August. And then what happened was the entire community on Reddit began to investigate them, various aspects of it. And this is where I came into play. I started posting some of this content on Twitter because I was
Spanish. Is the Miles chat from Basis still going? Yes, he is. Miles is certainly going strong, yeah.
Afraid that it might get censored.
I interviewed him a couple of weeks ago, actually, on her Panama radio.
Which is exactly what ended up happening to it. And I began to just amplify a lot of the content and write up, summarize a lot of the content that we were finding there. After about a week, I begged the media to look at the evidence, to look at the information. And I said that, I pinged all these media outlets, everybody, all the news people, nobody would touch it. And that's when I decided that I would.
Well, of course they're not going to touch it. I mean, you know what the media are bloody like, don't you? I'm going to pause this every so often because, even though, of course, I'm claiming fair use, and I don't think Ashton minds people doing this. He does it himself. He monitors. He sort of like screen overs other people's videos. The YouTube algorithms, as you know, don't care about that. They seem to be particularly targeting my channel. What's this here? Yes, but aliens wouldn't have anything to do in, wouldn't have to do anything in secret, and governments wouldn't be able to cover it up. If they had the technology to get here, they would be as gods to us. Well, David, they can't completely cover it up. I mean, people do keep seeing things in the sky. You have abductees and things like that. However, the government, it's not that the government have suppressed the presence of these things, these entities in our midst. They have simply put out fake stories about what causes them, so that people then kind of lose interest, or they start believing they're weather balloons and things like that. But the government are definitely, they are suppressing, not suppressing the facts, but they're suppressing our awareness of these things. Now, the aliens, obviously, I mean, it's hard to anthropomorphize these, whatever they are, but they're obviously in some way they are maybe not collaborating, but their behavior is of a type that is of a kind that allows them to assist the government. But anyway, let's carry on.
Pick up the reins if the media would not touch it.
Because the media, and of course the media aren't going to touch it. I think Ashton has learned that lesson pretty quickly.
And that's what I did. I became an investigator. And that is also when I started MH370X, which, if you want to know how I came up with it, I just decided we put an X at the end of it since we're on Twitter and on X, as well as the idea that X usually seems to stand for this mesh of technology.
It also means kind of outside. It means kind of like X means it's extra, like extracurricular, extra. It's short for extra, which means outside. And indeed, MH370X is like that. It's an alternative platform for research,
as well as investigation, and that's what this case really is about. So from their point forward, a few days after that, around, I believe it was August 18th or 19th, is when
David, why would aliens even need to kidnap people or assist the governments? David, you've just asked $1 million question. I have other videos in my catalog which kind of tries to answer that, but it's beyond the scope of this particular live stream. My immediate thoughts were it went too close to Antarctica and was shot down because it's a banned flyover place. It didn't get quite well. It didn't have the range to get quite that close, if indeed that's what it did, which I doubt, Phuket. But if it did go towards Antarctica, someone would say something. Yeah.
First Mick West debunk appeared.
Mick West. Subreddit. Oh, the Mick West Kool-Aid. Oh, Sam Harris has now sort of backtracked because the skeptics sat him down and said, "Look, Sam, you're not really going over to the woo-woo side, are you?" Oh, Mick West. Hey, Claire, Cosmic Claire, asking why people do something is irrelevant. The important thing is whether they did them or not. Well, Claire, I think you're answering David. It would be far beneath them. Claire, I have trouble understanding some members of my own species. I mean, I've especially on the HPWA blog, where I talk about hospital portering, which is probably the blog where I most often talk about my interactions with others, which I learned a lot about when I was a hospital porter. People would do things that would make no sense to me, and I don't even. So how if we can't even understand other humans, what chance do we have of anthropomorphizing beings that have come from another planet? All we know is they are doing exactly all we know is they are doing certain things. Yes, they are doing certain things. Yeah, and it affects us. It affects our lives. I think that's the main. Oh yes, l'enfer c'est les autres, as Jean-Paul Sartre said. Yeah, hell is other people. Yeah. Did you see? Did any of you listen to Third Rail Radio on Monday, where I was with Trevor? We did a review of Leave the World Behind, and there was that Julia Roberts character. She said, "I fucking hate people." She had this murderous. They must have made her rehearse over and over again to get to deliver that line just perfectly with just the evil voice and facial expression, the murderous look in her eyes. I fucking hate people. If you ever see that film, it's in the first scene. She just turns around. She says, I fucking hate people. Yeah. All right. So let's carry on with old Ash. I don't think actually we'd probably just play. I should probably just play the audio.
It was posted by a one-day-old Reddit account that had to get manual permission to post on the UFO subreddit. The only person I can think of that would need to use an alt account like
Claire says, thinking you have to understand the reasons limiting possibilities to what you already know when you should be allowing that, as Don Rummy says. There are unknown unknowns. Unknown unknowns and unknown unknowns, yeah. Look, we do. David says, no, we don't know it, though. I don't believe aliens are involved at all. Well, I mean, at some point, David, I could maybe have a discussion and go through the evidence with you. And at the end of the day, if you it's up to you to what you believe. I don't agree, but obviously, I could be wrong. I'm willing to go through the evidence at some point. But yeah, they are here and they're doing things, I believe, for their own purposes, which possibly are beyond our comprehension. Anyway, carry on with Ashton.
this on Reddit would
If I need to, I'll go back to visual again on Ashton if he shows an image. But it's basically he just like reads from here. He just reads, so and it makes it easier on the algorithms actually if I just play the audio.
is Mick West himself, and Mick West.
To hell with Mick West is. Oh, I'm not gonna have a go at Mick West right now.
West that very same day, within an hour or so, posted on his Metabunk website.
Yeah, it could be Black Ops Secret Space Program. I believe it's both. I believe the evidence suggests it's both. I don't believe the Black Ops Secret Space Program explains the entire phenomenon for two main reasons. Firstly, their behavior. Secondly, their antiquity. They predate it. David, we're just sorry. I think David, that's an elbow in the ribs from David saying, Ben, get back on topic. Well, as always, David, it's, and related subjects, and this is kind of a related subject. I've got another related subject to talk about as well, so we may well go off on some tangents. All right, let's get back to Ashton.
Claiming to have found this VFX in a old, obscure 3DO video game called Killing Time from the 90s. This almost certainly, beyond any shadow of a doubt, connects Mick West directly to that debunk attempt.
All right, this is the several people have said this, that the videos are simply created by they used several video special effects templates from years and years ago to create these images. And the problem is, though, I mean, if you want me to stand up and say any image can be positively proved not to have been faked in this day and age, you can't do it. It's impossible. Ashton, I think, has though put together a good case why he thinks it's not.
Which was subsequently used to ban all discussion of the videos from Reddit, from the UFO subreddit, which is what ended up happening. Everybody got ushered to another subreddit. At this point forward...
so David says, I think Claire's suggesting a breakaway parallel civilization is responsible, possibly broken away a very long time ago. Could be, yeah.
I really started to pick up steam on Twitter. I began as a 30-follower account. I started joining spaces in the UFO community because I thought we were looking at possibly aliens or at least alien technology on these videos. And then quickly moved...
Unlike Ashton, I think we still are.
Moved over into the conspiracy community as well when I started to realize that I didn't think that what we were looking at here was actually aliens, but potentially our technology that's been kept hidden from us. So since then, you guys have probably seen that there's been a huge rise in terms of interest and following that I think crescendoed in December. And I've been going on podcasts pretty much nonstop since then. I want to thank as well the people that have hosted spaces with me where I brought the topic up, even though it's been very controversial for a lot of people. And then we did most of the investigation after the case got censored from Reddit, although there were still some people on social media that were doing some investigative research as well. But the vast majority of the research after that has happened either through myself or through the other people who are the investigators on MH370X. Some of them done a lot of work. Just to name a couple, JK Philly fan has probably done the most out of anybody. And I know Arwen, even though she was a late joiner to the team, she's been putting a huge amount of work. a
Yeah,
bunch of other people have done
Ashton has
research.
become really popular. I discovered him probably about 6 months ago or so. That was when I did the Rethinking MH370 video. If you remember that live stream I did an article as well called Rethinking MH370. I decided to reuse that title for last night's Panwo show. But I mean, literally until I came across, it was watching Ashton then got me into watching other people like Florence and Jeff Wise. It was then that that's when, because I literally believed the official story until then. I literally did.
Well, that research has included going back to old press conferences, all the old news
69 Phuket, the bell I keep hearing is my phone. It was just my daughter texting
articles, going through every single expert investigator who's been out there, all of their work, and trying to sift through it and determine, what information is credible, how does the information link together, and all of that. So the approach that we've taken is one of the scientific method, which is that we come up with a hypothesis, we look through the evidence, we try to figure out how the evidence fits with the hypothesis, and then if it doesn't work, then we kind of go back up to the drawing board. What I'll say before we get into this is the only evidence that we've had to throw away or discredit is the Inmarsat pings after 1839 UTC, which is the point where the plane turns into the South Indian Ocean. We simply think that doesn't happen.
I agree. I mean, and indeed, I'm suspicious at why the government's jumped on this so quickly. As I explained, literally the Prime Minister of Malaysia was on the phone to the engineers at Inmarsat, and everything he said, including the horrible text message he sent to Danica Weeks, was based on that. Brett Riverboat says, I am still adamant that MH370 was shot down by mistake. It's possible, like the Angry Frenchman says, it's possibly shot down. Whether it was by mistake or not is another matter. It could have been shot down by mistake. And again, if that happened, it would be exactly the same situation as if the batteries caught fire and they desperately wanted to avoid a scandal and a diplomatic incident, and so they made up this silly story about the Shah going rogue and crashing the plane in the Indian Ocean. It's a very similar situation, an act of gross negligence leading to a terrible legal wrangle. I mean, if you remember when the Russians, it was in the Soviet era, they shot down that Korean airliner by mistake. Do you remember that? Oh dear, yeah. That was in the 80s, I think, during the Soviet era. Yeah. Michael Snow, I don't think the satellite data was meant to be put out there. The source of the Inmarsat stuff is a story in itself.
Aside from that, this story, this team, this investigation has used more evidence than any other story to date by far. More than anybody who's on the Netflix documentary, more than anybody who's written any books, more than anyone else who was on the independent group, by a wide margin. We brought back in about 19 witnesses at least. We haven't had to throw out like debris evidence or anything like that to fit our story. Everything is fit together. Now, it's a very difficult to believe story. And this is just a quick recap, and then we'll get into the evidence here while people are trickling in. In December, that is when the cloud debunk appeared. Now, the cloud debunk also appeared on Reddit.
Now, this is the clouds you see in the video, which I showed you the video earlier of the plane. There are clouds in it, of course. Yeah, there are clouds. We're not going to watch too much more of this. Just watch a little bit more.
But it appeared on what I call the Debunker subreddit, which is the Reddit that everybody was pushed to after the case was censored on UFOs. And it was started by debunkers. It was managed by debunkers. They banned me as well as anybody else who contributed positively to the case under false pretenses. And this is part of the reason why nobody should trust Reddit whatsoever. A 6-day-old Reddit account that admitted that the reason why they even got involved was that they were upset at the treatment that I gave the Corridor crew regarding some of the debunks that appeared, I believe, on the Dan and Jones podcast and afterwards. And that within 20 minutes, the 6
Well, I mean, the Corridor crew claimed to have proved that it was a fake video, and Ashton disagreed. He said no, that they're wrong. He actually does explain quite comprehensively why he thinks the Corridor crew were wrong. And I mean, I've watched the Corridor crew's video as well. And I don't know enough about the subject to say definitively, but Ashton does provide a comprehensive explanation about why he thinks they're wrong, and this has resulted into a massive kind of Twitter drama.
Old Reddit account on an obscure textures website.
Spanish Chicken says, I heard it was maintenance pings to the satellite. They got to the location. Yes, it was. Yeah, it was. They managed to. Well, they managed to work out the range of the aircraft from the satellite. Apparently. Oh, pardon me. Oh dear.
Site was able to find a picture that has matching clouds from our satellite video. They anonymously, using a burner email account, emailed the picture taker for some reason. And this was in the middle of the night, my time. And this was when that picture taker, within an hour of receiving this email, went ahead and made a debunk video.
Okay, we've probably seen enough of that. You can, if you go to Ashton Forbes, go to his channel. This one here, I do recommend this enormously. It's really been quite eye-opening to go through. He's got a huge amount of material, which I hope he won't delete. There's things that he's got, like other subjects as well. Like he's got Timothy Alberino talking about the Peruvian thing. He covers so much. He covers a lot of UFO stuff as well, and conspiracy stuff. He's got Stephen Bassett there, you see. I do hope he'll keep these videos up when he retires from MH370X. I do hope he will. Okay, so now we're going to now 69 Phuket. We covered this earlier. The Rolls-Royce engines don't have their own trackers. They do now. I mean, it was actually discussed in one of the early documentaries, the one that I played the audio of it last night on the Hapanwo show. There's a Canadian company that has developed a system for the live downloading of black box data to a ground database, to a ground source, a ground recorder. And that has actually been, now I believe that is in use now, but in 2014 it was actually experimental. And MH370 was not fitted with that. So no, Rolls-Royce didn't have access to the engine's data. There's a claim that they note that when the plane ran out of fuel, the APU started. That's the auxiliary power unit. Now this is it's a third engine. It's a very small jet engine on the back of the plane, and they say that when the fuel ran out, that automatically started and used up the dregs of the fuel just to keep the systems running. And apparently there was an extra handshake or something at that point. Now what I want to do now is I'm going to go to I've got so much here. Sweeps Fox send me a load of stuff, which I don't have time to go through probably. But Sweeps Fox has, I've got to thank Sweeps for that. But he sent me a lot of information like this article here, which is worth seeing. Where is it here? MH370 hijacked by the CIA to stop technology transfer to China. That's a very persuasive reason, actually, when you consider that they had 12. Why were there 12 executive officers of Freescale Semiconductors on it? It was an American company. These are all Chinese guys. And I don't have time to go into this now, but it covers a lot of the disputes of the official story. Now, I want to tackle, and this is something now, I'm taking a bit of a risk here because I don't know exactly whether he is. I hope he's honest enough not to put a copyright strike on my video, but I want to talk about Miles Power and his coverage of this. But Miles Power is a skeptic, and I have interacted with him a few times. I found him quite reasonable, but he has done some quite angry debunking videos of the Netflix documentary that I wanted to just briefly look at. I'm not going to show you all these videos. I'm just going to show a bit of it. But Miles, I am claiming fair use on these. Look, there's your channel, so people can go and sub to Miles' channel if you want. Okay. But I am going to claim fair use on analyzing these videos here. Here we go. Just on. Let's wait for the ads to clear. I haven't downloaded these, so I'm going to have to just right. Let's go. Here we go.
Series MH370, the plane that disappeared, is a podium for baseless conspiracy theories from people who are more interested in fame and notoriety than an actual explanation for Malaysian Airlines Flight 370's.
Oh, look. Well, firstly, do you know Florence says that the plane at least reached the BTOD waypoint after Zaharie, just interestingly. Florence actually says that the plane, that was Florence you just saw there.
Disappearance. This ethically dubious documentary, which offers
ethically dubious. Oh, that's the meeting with Gillen in the basement. Yeah, with he met the sort of Men in Black type characters.
cheap thrills at the cost of the dignity of those who perished.
Oh right. Oh dear. And there's Jeff and Florence. Oh dear. We're already onto the. Oh, but what about we're? I don't know. I don't think I want to watch all this, but we're already on to, I think, the most important point that Miles makes, and the one that I want to discredit, which is the most important thing. So if you're one of these conspiracy theorists, these MH370-ologists, as Florence calls us, right, which includes her, right, you are what is it? You are trampling on the graves of. They don't have graves. You're trampling on the graves of the people who died, and you're hurting their relatives. You're causing pain and anguish to their relatives. Now, we've had this bullshit since 9/11, haven't we? We've had this stupid moral blackmailing, dishonest crap since 9/11, haven't we? Oh, what about the pain you're causing the relatives? Oh, what are you pissing on the graves of those who died? Because you're disagreeing with the official story. How dare you? And you're only doing it to sell books. You're selling books and making a star out of yourself on the expense of while standing on the bones of the bodies of the deceased. Oh, how heartless you are. How heartless. And Miles has just echoed that old line again. Now, I've done an entire video. I've written a poem. I even wrote a poem about this, didn't I? Show some respect. I've actually read the poem out on a video, so you can find. It's just called "Show Some Respect." So, according to this logic, right? According to this logic, this ethical issue, right? If you're walking along the street one day, right, just trolling along one day, you see this old lady with a Zimmer walking towards you, this vulnerable old lady with a handbag full of money, and these thugs come at her and they beat her senseless, and they crack her skull, and she's lying on the floor bleeding to death, right? And she ends up dying, okay? And they run off with her handbag and steal her money. When the police turn up, what are you going to say? Right? Now, according to Miles and what lots of other people claim, the right thing to do, the respectful and sensitive thing to do, is when the police turn up, you say, she kind of keeled over. I think she's had a heart attack. Yeah. That is the right thing to do. Don't mention the people who attacked her. No, let them get away with it. They stole her money and they killed her, but let them get away with it. That is the sensible, sensitive and respectful thing to do. You know, it's I don't know if dishonest is the right word. I think it's sick. It's deceptive and it's defamatory. In fact, Miles, I'm going to say a big fuck you to you and not watch any more of your video, I don't think, because he actually doesn't say anything much original after that, but you know, I just that's really disreputable thing that he did there. Very, very disreputable indeed. Right, let's have a look at a couple of news stories. We'll finish in a minute, actually, because I think we're nearly. I think I've gone through almost everything. Right, let's just have a look at some news stories. Go through some of these. How the right was MH370 taken down by the black goo in the engines? Oh, I think the scuttlers were trying to get in there. Actually, Israel Diego Rivera. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so here we go. The Independent. Let's go to the BBC. Let's go to the Big Black Cock, shall we? Here we go. What does that have to say? The people who are still looking for the disappeared flight MH370 and why the mystery is so hard to solve. A decade after MH370 disappeared, are we any closer to finding the missing plane? Amateur investigators are convinced they know its location. Well, you see, yeah, there's a pilot actually. It was Vince Line. I think that's him. Yeah, there's a couple of other people who were interviewed on the TV saying they believe that the plane is on a. They believe that there's the arcs caused by the Inmarsat data there's the arcs by the Inmarsat data in the Indian Ocean, and the areas have all been searched, but they've identified another area where they think, well, if the plane was in a controlled glide, it could have actually traveled for 80 miles further, and they suggest looking for it there. It's more likely to be intact as well. And so they've suggested looking now. Now, the original search didn't go there, but there's several people now campaigning to have a search in that area. Indeed, Ocean Infinity are now offering to go back to that particular area and do another search with modern technology that wasn't around at the time, and indeed with I want to come to Twitter in a minute as well, and indeed with a no fine, no fee deal. So they're going to say to the Malaysian and Chinese and Australian governments, if we don't find anything, you don't have to pay us. Hugo Armstrong. Hugo's probably had a few spliffs by now, I expect. Okay, so that's basically that news story just covers that, I think. And the other news stories are pretty much the same. They're pretty much the same. But I mean, the actual the search that's already been done something should have emerged from it. After millions of pounds spent. Millions and millions of pounds, 40 ships, 22 aircraft, the biggest search and recovery mission in history. I mean, I wonder, did it not occur to them? Because apparently, according to several of these pundits, like there was a pilot actually interviewed on Australian TV today. Can't remember his name, but he was saying that he said that even when the first search was underway, he was petitioning them. He was writing to them saying, check out this second triangle, what they call the second triangle. Check that out as well, because it's possible there's wreckage there. It's possible that the plane did not just simply nosedive into the sea when it ran out of fuel. It may have been in a controlled glide. Shah might have been alive, and he may have been gliding the plane down to a controlled landing on the water. So it could have glided for 80 miles from 35,000 feet. Yeah, so what about that, eh? I mean, is that possible? I'll tell you what, Ross Coulthard has been talking about this. Let's go to Ross Coulthard, because, yeah, good old Ross. You know, what if some of these objects are so large that they cannot actually be moved, and so they had to the government had to put a building up on top of them. Now, I know where these buildings are, but I'm not going to tell you. It's not in the United States, but it's somewhere. He's actually now commented on MH370. I know him best as the UFO commenter, but he did do this on MH370. I'll just show you a bit of it, and I'll probably switch to audio because, you know, the album. But this is interesting. His position on this is actually quite interesting. Whoops, where am I now? No, not that one. That one. You don't want to see Charlie Veach, do you? No, here we go.
Friday, you know, it marks 10 years since the disappearance of the Malaysian Airlines Flight 370, and we're nowhere closer to an explanation of what happened now than we were then. But the Malaysian government said this week it's open to relaunching a new search, and an American deep ocean exploration company is offering to do it.
Yeah, I mean, this will be interesting. If they find something, I'll tell you what, it'll be interesting. If they can demonstrate that it's a genuine find and not another cover-up, that will change everything, won't it?
239 people were on board that flight to Beijing when it disappeared somewhere.
What's this hand? What? And the murderer. I can't read these things. Yeah.
Over the
But look, these are the people protesting. These are the relatives protesting.
Southern Indian Ocean. Joining me now is News Nation special correspondent and investigative reporter Ross Coulthard, who's covered this story for the last decade. Ross, it's always good to see you.
It's hard to remember. It's hard to think nowadays that Ross only became like a UFO correspondent about a year ago. Before then, he was he did lots of other things. He actually won the top journalistic award in Australia. He really did. And then he started talk. No, what do you mean not a year ago? That's not fair. No, it was more than that because he wrote that book, didn't he? So it's probably about 5 years.
I mean, talk about a development in one of the great aviation mysteries of our time, especially for those families who've gone 10 years without any sort of answer.
Can you imagine that? Yeah, not knowing what happened to your loved ones.
Sure.
I know, and it's heartbreaking, Marky. I've been talking to Australian families who've lost loved ones, Malaysian families and Chinese families, and all of them feel the pain, and it gets worse as each year goes by. And now the Malaysian government...
Well, David says here, that Ross has been covering this from the last decade. He has. Yes, I mean, I've not actually looked at all the other things. This is the first time I've ever seen Ross Coulthart talking about a non-UFO subject, because I'm so familiar with him being into UFOs, being a UFO guy.
Talking once again about possibly funding another search. There's been 2 previously, of course, both unsuccessful. There's been, I think, 43 pieces of debris that are thought to be related to the plane that have been recovered over the years.
They've been thought. Now, this is, I'm very glad he said that. He said there's been a number of debris that have been thought. Now, a lot of people, a lot of other journalists are calling the reunion flapper on, that thing behind me, and some of the stuff that Blaine Gibson has found. They're calling that definitively and certainly associated with MH370. Yet, as you know, if you watch the Netflix documentary, a lot of the relatives don't believe it. And what's not only that, but a lot of other researchers have said, there's the identity plate came off the flaperon. David Blaine, he's the only one who's found anything. David Blaine, 'cause he's been beach combing the area for years, but he's found pieces of an aircraft, sometimes specifically 777, sometimes maybe others. He's found bits of seat cushion, which is like standard issue for various airlines, things like that. That is not pieces we don't know those are pieces of MH370, and it's very brave of Ross to say so, I must admit.
But no definitive answer yet on what exactly happened, and that's what the families want. They want to know how this disaster happened, and I think also a lot of people want to try and allay the conspiracy.
This is a good picture. Look, it's a jigsaw puzzle. These are the names of the people on the plane, and they're like a jigsaw puzzle. They're essentially saying this is not. We don't know what's going on. This is like a puzzle. It's symbolic.
Conspiracy theories that have come to pass. There's a hell of a lot being said about MH370, which could easily be disproven if the wreckage is eventually found.
Well, let's face it. I mean, if they find wreckage in the Indian Ocean and it's positively proved it's not just another plant, I'll have to just, me and Ashton and Florence and Jeff, we're all going to have to say we were wrong. We're all going to have to eat humble pie and admit we were wrong, won't we? We'll have to. I'll have to change my mind about Captain Shah and said, yes, he really was the blackguard that everyone's saying he was. Things like that. Especially if they find the black box and you can hear Shah evilly cackling in the cockpit, But that hasn't happened yet. No one has found anything.
And you talk about, all those searches and individual investigations that have been conducted. The Malaysian government and other countries have spent $130 million searching, for this aircraft just in 2017. They found nothing then. Now you have this Texas-based company coming forward that's offered to lead the search. They say they have new technology. Ross, what do you think that actually looks like?
Well,
because it's funny thing, in 10 years, technology can advance. This is why Ocean Infinity found what they think is Amelia Earhart's plane.
Infinity, led by a chap called Oliver Plunkett, is one of the vessels that led the...
So this map is very comprehensive here. It just shows you some things here. So known flight path, I agree with that. Intended flight path to Beijing is the grey dotted line. Suspected flight path, right? So even they are now saying suspected. This is where it goes over the Malaysian Peninsula and goes out into the Andaman Sea. There's the ARC is satellite content, possible contact with the flight recorder. Well, that was actually I can't believe that was kind of like really. Surely they would have known more, because they detected a ping, which turned out not to be the ping from the flight recorder. Wreckage found. Well, that's Reunion Island there, but there is no, as we know. I've just explained why there's nothing certainly making that wreckage part of MH370.
The most recent search, and they did some phenomenal work, but they're only as good as where they're told to look. And part of the problem with the MH370 mystery is that we started out with the assumption that the plane was in some way incapacitated, perhaps by a fire, and that eventually it fell into the sea after it ran out of fuel. Now, there's been alternative theories that have speculated that there was a rogue pilot, that perhaps it was a Captain Zaharie, the main...
I'm glad you're calling it an alternative, because, I mean, unfortunately, the rogue pilot hypothesis blaming Zaharie Shah, it's not really, it's not an alternative hypothesis. It's just like the working hypothesis for the official story, which, as I've explained, is false.
Captain on the aircraft, and that it was somehow some kind of suicide mission. This is, of course, disputed by the Malaysians, and indeed vigorously disputed also by some of the investigators here in Australia. But the fact that...
Yeah, and by me.
There might have been a rogue pilot, that this...
That's Blaine. You just saw Blaine holding...
Could have been a dreadful murder-suicide for some unexplained reasons, could explain why the aircraft has been outside the existing search area, because a pilot could have done a controlled landing on the sea, and they could have glided the aircraft considerably further than an aircraft that just ran out of fuel.
Yeah, and then deployed those inflatables.
Driving the new search.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I guess when you don't have any answers, all possibilities are still at play. But certainly the aviation world and those families hoping for answers.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that was Ross Coulthart. I'll just go back here now. All right, so where we were now. Let's have a look at your comments. Where we are. May I? Okay, this is... Oh, no, this is Hugo's talking about... with Nihilist. Okay. Neil says to me, it'll be concerning if there's other pieces of the aircraft, Ben. Why weren't these plane pieces or missing planes themselves reported? Well, yeah, I mean, the thing is, it's understandable that people think, well, it has to be MH370 because that's the only 777 that's been reported missing in the Indian Ocean. So it has to be MH370. However, if someone, for example, just went and grabbed that from a scrapyard, which is incidentally the only place where the identity plate is removed when the plane is scrapped. I mean, the MH370 documentary on Netflix shows some planes being like broken up at a scrapyard, and then just dipped it in and then put it in the sea for a couple of months. So it, just maybe maybe even in a pond, like a seawater pond, so that barnacles and like oysters and other things grow on it. And then just sneak it into Reunion one day and just leave it lying there. That's another possibility, you see. And of course, they didn't have the registration plate because it's not MH370. It could be they couldn't fake that, so they just they came up with this ideal story that they came up with this silly story that it was it was just some nonsense. It was actually the real thing. It was just came off somehow. Roy Bland, do you think we're almost... Roy, all right, I'm just going to delete that comment. Roy, don't say stupid things, all right? If you contribute in a sensible manner, I'll deal with you. You still claim you're not the guy I blocked on Alt Tech, are you? Because you sound just like him. Dark Corners. Oh, all right, you're going to... See you later, Dark Corners. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, sure. Watch it from the beginning by all means. Hugo's talking about his own accident. Okay, I thought you were talking about MH370. No worries. Sure, go ahead and discuss these things. Diego, was a boomerang involved in bringing down MH370? Makes more sense than the official story, mate. Yeah. Spanish chicken, sand or sugar cleans. It's an aggressor. It was in the chemicals in the Swarfiga that got banned. Was that what they used for the to get the plate off or something? Yeah. Yeah, Hugo. Neil. So Neil, it makes more sense than anything else, doesn't it? Sweeps of Black Goo is a Miles Johnson hobby horse. Oh, the Black Goo. Yeah. Well, it's not, to be fair, Sweeps. It's not just Miles. I mean, there's Harold Kautzvella, who's talked about Black Goo, and there's the thing in the Falklands and stuff. Yeah, but yeah, Miles it is a Miles Johnson. It's something we associate with Miles, isn't it? It is. Right. So I'm just gonna. What else have I got to show you? That's everything. I showed you the News Nation. I'm not going to bother with the Reddit because Ashton did post a Reddit. I'm not going to bother with that because we're nearly 2 hours. Going nearly 2 hours now. I'll just show you this. I'll just show you this tweet by Ashton. This is my hero, Lieutenant Commander Edward C. Lynn. Now, this is interesting. This is the guy who Ashton claims leaked the videos. Now, Edward Lynn is currently in jail. He's been in jail for espionage. Let's see. Let's see. Edward C. Lynn. Let's have a look. It's the strange case of Lieutenant Commander Edward C. Lynn. Edward Lynn will serve 6 years for mishandling classified information, not reporting foreign contacts. Yeah, he's a Taiwanese guy who was actually, as I said, a Navy lieutenant, who was. But it turns out that he's been accused. I don't know if they've proved it, but he's been accused of kind of espionage. U.S. Navy officer. Here we go. U.S. Navy officer charged with spying for China and Taiwan. That's a strange combination of handlers there, but yeah, I believe he is from Taiwan originally, and he's currently, I believe, as I said, in a Navy brig. Okay, so I'll just show you Ashton's tweet, because Ashton has another view. Ashton says, "My hero, Lieutenant Commander Edward C. Lynn. A lot of people's heroes of disclosure are either David Grush, Ryan Graves, David Fravor, or Lou Elizondo. Well, I consider them heroes, yeah. Ben, you're naive. Shut up, backslappers. They're all military personnel and veterans whom I respect and thank them for their service to our country. They've helped move disclosure forward in the public realm. In fact, good old Ashton is not. He's not been pressured into complying with the backslappers. He hasn't. Good. He's standing up to the backslappers. He's just like Christina Gomez. He's sticking up 2 fingers to the backslappers. Well done. However, my hero is Lieutenant Commander Edward C. Lynn. That's my hero, I think is the emphasis. Lynn made a sacrifice that no one else so far has done. He didn't tell stories, but instead leaked classified videos that will prove to the world the fate of MH370 and secret technology previously unknown to us. Excuse me. The videos are so high quality that debunkers can't even begin to explain a fraction of the details. People may say Lynn was wrong for leaking these videos, but he's not, because the greater wrong is lying to the world about a plane that disappeared off the face of the earth. The families are seeking answers to this day. It's also a crime to humanity to hide this technology from the world, because it could help so many millions of suffering people. You're like free energy in that, yeah. As I've explained, I've done an entire presentation talking about the benefits of free energy. If Lieutenant Commander Edward C. Lynn is reading this, I want him to know that he has saved at least one life, mine. He's changed my life for the better in ways I could never repay. I will be forever grateful to him for his service. I have one final plea to General Mike Flynn. If President Trump wins the upcoming election, please advocate for a full pardon for Edward Lynn. I don't want to compel him to testify about MH370. He deserves peace. I just want him to be redeemed because the world has unfairly mistreated him. Lastly, if you get the chance, please tell him he's my hero. Yeah, well, as we explained in last week, Trump didn't pardon Julian Assange, did he? But I mean, I'm still hoping that that Trump will come back, and we'll talk more about that at the time. Roy Bland says, "What's stupid about asking why do you think we're all moronic children? You seem to think you need to explain the most simplistic things to us." The reason I think it's stupid is because that is a loaded rhetorical question. You're not saying, because firstly, you're accusing me. It's not a question, it's an accusation, Roy. You're accusing me of treating you like you're moronic children. I'm not. You haven't explained why you think I'm treating you like that. You haven't put in any explanation at all. It's a meaningless comment. Please, could you please just give details? Look, otherwise I'm not going to interact with you. You sound just like the guy I blocked on All Tech. You claim you're not him, but you sound like him. So, you're risking me blocking you now, and I will if I think you're too much like him. Right. Okay, so that's that done with. I'm finished with Twitter. Yeah, and he's mentioned Edward C. Lynn before. Let's just have a look through my notes. We'll be finished in a minute, guys. I think we've covered everything. 1 second, guys. Play amongst yourselves for a moment. Right. No. Right, here we go. Yeah, why did Ho Chi Minh 17 minutes? Flight plan, Lubitz. Check the background is correct. Yes, flapper on. Check second live stream. Yeah. There's no proof that they're dead. No. Lithium-ion batteries, done that. New search by Ocean Infinity. Manifest the TV show. Yeah, do watch Manifest if you get the chance. Freescale we've done. The fake passenger passports. No, Hamid. Now, Farik Hamid. What did he have a motive? He seemed to be a professional budding pilot. I mean, he did act a little bit irresponsible at times. Like he was flirting with these two Australian girls once in the cabin, so he let them sit in the cockpit, obviously showing off. Now, the weird thing is, like, Hamid's mobile phone, according to the official story, which I doubt, Hamid's mobile phone briefly registered with a tower, a mast in Penang. Now, this may have been simply a way of reinforcing the official story that that Shah flew over Penang because it was his. What was it? It was his hometown. He wanted to say goodbye. Oh. But no text message was sent and no phone calls made. Either there wasn't time or that Hamid hadn't prepared one in advance. I mentioned it was unchecked cargo. Yes. Why was the lithium-ion batteries not? Why were they not scanned with an X-ray? Right. There was some wreckage found in the Maldives apparently that may have been part of the plane. They're not sure. This would be the case if it went to Diego Garcia. Yes, Florence believes that the plane never left the Gulf of Thailand. Now, Miles thinks that because the wreckage that the Tom Nodder spotted is actually just off the coast of Vietnam near Ho Chi Minh City, that is somehow evidence that Florence is wrong. It's not. It's not evidence that the Tom Nodders are wrong. It could be the plane glided and then crashed near that area. But that area has never been checked for wreckage. Yes, so no wreckage in the Indian Ocean. The search may be a distraction. Yeah, I think the Indian Ocean search may well be just a distraction. The Malaysian government didn't even release the raw Inmarsat data for several weeks. Why was that? Oh, another pilot saw a plane on fire apparently to the east of Vietnam. Another pilot reported that to Florence. This is a bit far out, but apparently someone in Vietnam reported seeing a TV news program of debris being salvaged from the Gulf of Thailand, but the program was lost. Now, this reminds me of, do you remember my No Easy Day review where I talked about the US embassy expert talking about about the fate of Bin Laden? That clip can't be found in the archives either. Oh, Pitbull and Shakira. Yes, this is a song which apparently has some lyrics relating to MH370. Now, I covered this on the Hapanwo show last night. I even played the song, but it is we're going to Malaysia. The lyrics are: we're going to Malaysia, 2 countries, 3 cities, things like that. Meaning, of course, the 2 countries would be China and Malaysia, and the 3 cities would of course be Kuala Lumpur, Beijing, and Ho Chi Minh City. I think we've got covered everything. Excuse me. I'm going to go sneeze. Oh, Miles, another thing. Like I said, I didn't want to play Miles' video. I wasn't going to play Miles' video after that nasty, spiteful little intro. But Grace Nathan, you may know her. She's one of the. She's a relative. She actually was interviewed in the Netflix documentary and has completely denounced it. So she's a supporter of the official story. Danica Weeks, I don't know what her position is, but I mean, I'm not going to judge these people after what they've been through. I'm not going to pass judgment on them. I think that is it, my friends. And we're over 2 hours in now. I think that's it. Yes. So, any last questions or comments? Let's have a look. Roy Bland, no, it's not word spaghetti. I'm asking you to make a point. You haven't actually made a point the whole time you've been here. Crocodile Dundee, Linda Koswalski. Oh, that's nice. That is, yes. Yes, that was a good film. I love that film. That's one of my favourite scenes, of course, yes. Phuket has bagged a Queen Anne-style occasional table with inlaid glass top at Mencap charity shop. Enough for my laptop, a space for my beer, bargain. That's all you need, isn't it? That's all you need to make a man happy, a place for his laptop and a beer. All right, guys, so as any other last questions or comments, and then we'll call it a night. I just want to thank everyone who's watched, whether you're watching on the are you watching on the live stream? Are you watching live, or are you watching the recording? Either way, thank you very much. Do like, share, subscribe. I just say that to annoy Slaxer. Yeah. Roy Bland says, Dr. Razza saw a news item no one else in the world saw. Right, I don't have time to go into that this evening, Roy. But anyway, do leave, by all means, if you want to leave a more detailed comment under the recording, feel free, and I'll cover it in the next comments reply video. Yeah, Slack says he's still, I saw he's recently uploaded, so he's still active, but he doesn't interact much these days. He just puts gaming videos up mostly. All right, guys, I think is that everything? Yes. I want to say thank you to Phuket, Spanish Chicken, who else? Hugo Rune, Nihilist Lives Matter, Sweeps Foxman, Neil, Diego Rivera, Dark Corners, Tina, David Splendid Isolation, Michael Snow, Claire Ray Randall, Dave Yorkshire, Brett Riverboat. Thank you, all of you, thank you very much, all of you. Much appreciate you being here. And Phuket, night, Phuket, night. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm glad you enjoyed this. As always, I appreciate everyone who watches my videos, listens to what I have to say. A lot of people don't. It's been an interesting subject. What's coming next? I don't know. I might take a little break after everything I've done the last couple of days. But I'll think we've got to do the live stream, haven't we, for the watch party, the Lighthouse. That's coming up, definitely. Night, Diego Rivera. Sleep well. It's now 11:15. I've got to go to bed soon because I'm working tomorrow, even though it's a Saturday. I love you all and all that sort of thing. And take care. And Rhiannon as well. Thank you as well. I think she might have gone to bed. Thank you, all of you. Is my hand going to disappear? Hospital Porters, Pride and Dignity. Stop the New World Order.